Dreaming and beaming, really him, not them. Shining like a diamond, glazing, looking amazing. No need to be in the sun when you're already shining like one. Out this world, out this galaxy, turning dreams into reality. With the beautiful is usual. The clean queen herself, my love from up above. Nigh.
Hey, yeah.
This is the show Growing in Love. I hope y'all doing good.
Hmm.
We're gonna be exploring the beyond the surface of intimacy, and with the first question, it's going to be: how would you define emotional intimacy, and why is it important in a romantic relationship?
You want me to cover that first?
Yeah.
Okay. um, Emotional intimacy is important in a romantic relationship because there's something so significant about being able to be vulnerable with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ability to be vulnerable with someone, at least for me, because I know I have a problem being vulnerable.
Right.
So if I'm in a position where I feel I'm able to be vulnerable with somebody and allow them in to see who I am, where I come from, all those things, like understand me, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
then it promotes this connection where, again, the analogy that you told me, it was literally last year you told me that intimacy or connection between two people in a romantic relationship is almost as if there's a string connected to you and there's a string connected to me, and every single time that we experience intimacy together, it kind of pulls us just a little bit closer until eventually we become intertwined like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important because, one, you should understand your partner in all aspects.
Right.
You should be able to stand inside your partner's shoes and be like, okay, this is the way he's thinking, or this is the way he sees things, or that way you can
Mm-hmm.
understand who you're with.
Right.
Then, as far as emotional intimacy, I mean, everybody has their needs. Everybody has their needs in a relationship, and they're all different. So, to be able to know your person to cover that and fulfill them, yeah.
Okay. Hey,
What you
okay.
got, boo?
Um.
You answering the same questions I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So with me, how would I define emotional intimacy? Well, with intimacy, the word intimacy is like, you break it down, it's like see into me. So it's like you see my emotions, you see my nakedness of vulnerability, you see my trauma, you see the shadows,
Mm-hmm.
and you see all of that, and that's a better understanding of somebody who you're with. And the importance of that is you get to know what makes them emotional, so you don't get to push those buttons.
Mm.
Or it's like you can look at them and you could tell something's wrong with them, and you could do something to make it less hard on them.
Mm.
The importance of it, but yeah, that's really the importance of being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is like a beautiful thing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a real beautiful thing,
It is.
especially when you have somebody you can actually come to and it feels like a safe place to do it. It makes any connection feel closer when you're able to be vulnerable with somebody. So
Definitely.
it's the importance.
So, can I ask you something? Do you think that it's important to have that emotional intimacy to support your partner? Is that like your overall thinking of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
And so then, why is it a problem when we're not able to support our partner?
It's a problem not to dang.
Or in just our personal relationship, why is it such a big deal if I'm not able to support you? Why does that conflict you? Why is that conflicting for you?
To be honest, that really don't really bother me. It's like I like to handle stuff on my own cuz most of the time it's really with me.
Mm.
It's my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I could tell you my emotions, but it's like you can't fix my emotions. It's up to me to fix my feelings, fix my trauma. You can come and take it away for a minute, but it's like if I'm
Mm.
not going head on with it, it's never going away.
Mm.
But the best thing you could do is make sure that I'm doing something to move closer to that shadow of me that I don't want to go to and bring the light to it.
Mm.
Or say if you do something and you could tell it makes me mad, but if you understand me emotionally and I told you my traumas, you could probably know what that trigger is, and you could be like, hold on, wait a minute, this isn't a time to get mad, this is a time to see what triggered you and what you can do to
Mm-hmm.
stop it next time. So that's like supporting it somewhat.
Okay, so support for you looks like either a push in the right direction or a safe place to come and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's why emotional intimacy is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Are there any barriers that prevented you from having emotional intimacy?
Yes. Yes. There are so many barriers. Oh my goodness. And I'm just going to start off with the first one. It was being able to be vulnerable. That was the
Mm.
biggest barrier for me. Me not feeling secure enough within myself and my feelings feeling, confident, powerful within myself to bring it to the table for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way it was going to happen. Then the other thing too is that when you've been through certain points in life and you've experienced certain things and you've opened yourself up so many times just to be shut back down,
Right.
and hurt when you have been vulnerable or betrayed, that feeling of betrayal when you're vulnerable is another kind of thing. It's another kind of scar. So to have those scars and to be carrying them with you, then, find your partner and have to reopen that up. There's some barriers. There's a
Mm.
lot of barriers because it's not only the fact that it's difficult for me to be vulnerable, but now that I am vulnerable, now I'm triggered
Right.
because I'm vulnerable.
Mm.
So now I have to deal with all these triggers from being vulnerable, from past situations that may not even have nothing to do with you.
Right.
Then on top of the triggers, I have my traumas. Like I said, the scars, the betrayal, all those kinds of things. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm opening up to you and I'm being vulnerable with you, you're opening up a can of worms there. Like you got some stuff to, like, I've got some stuff to deal with, and you
Mm-hmm.
being my partner, I expect your support in that area.
Right.
So there's been some barriers, man. I gotta say, number one is vulnerability.
Mm.
Yes, and you're talking about emotional intimacy with this one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Definitely. What other barriers have I had within emotional intimacy? When I'm with somebody that does not have an open mind, like
Mm.
if you cannot
That.
understand me, if you cannot understand where I come from, where I'm at and where I'm planning to go, it's like I'm not sure if I'd be able to have that emotional intimacy with you.
I can feel that.
Then the other thing too is you have to have an open mind because sometimes my mind be everywhere, and if you can't
Yeah.
understand me from point A to point Z, then yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm. For me, I feel like the first one would be being young
Mm.
and I don't know, like you know how it be. It's like you get a
Mhm.
whooping and be like, "What are you crying for?" Or be
Mm.
like, "Why are you sad?" or anything like
Fix your
that.
face.
Yeah, like fix your face. So it's like I think I had that so much. It's like I don't even know how to. It's like I don't even know how to cry sometimes. It's like I be
Properly
wanting
express
to
your
cry,
emotions.
but I can't even cry. But I know I want to, and it's like I can't force it.
Mm.
But it's like the only time I cry is like when I'm hella emotional. It just comes out when I'm hella emotional.
Suppressed emotions.
Yes, it's not healthy at all.
Mm.
So I feel like that would be one, and I don't know. I feel like another one would be um, I don't really feel like I had nobody to go to growing up, cause I wasn't comfortable enough to talk about my emotions.
Mm.
It's like if I talked about my emotions, it was like the person would. I feel like they would somewhat shut my feelings down in a way.
Mm.
They would get mad at it, or they'd be like, it's like sometimes I'm just looking for a hug or something like that, and it's
Mm.
like I wouldn't get that. And another thing is, it's not having my mother, cause it's like
Mhm.
I don't have that feminine side to show me. Like I don't need to have that masculinity all the
All
time.
the time,
Sometimes
yeah.
I need to cry. Sometimes I need to have that nourishment. I need to have that compassion. And
Mm.
it's like that's something I'm learning to do with myself. But that's something I was really missing. And yeah, another one would be emotional intelligence. It's like I don't know. Like I didn't know nothing about emotional intelligence till like last year.
Mm.
And it's like if you don't know emotional intelligence, you don't know how to control your emotions. You can't be aware of them. You can't be aware of the triggers. That's
Mhm.
going to
How
be
to
a
regulate them, all of it.
yeah. That's going to be a barrier in itself for you to even
Mm.
be emotionally intimate with somebody because you can't even do it for yourself. So how are you supposed to do
Mhm.
it for somebody else? So I feel like that would be another barrier
Mm.
for sure.
That's interesting. Okay, wait. Before
Uh-huh.
we go to the next question, so you said as a child, it was difficult for you to come to people, and when you did not receive what you were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you're in your adulthood and you have, abundance of emotions, and you're aware of emotional intelligence and all those things, now you can regulate your own emotions.
Mm-hmm.
When you need a safe place to come and be vulnerable about the emotions that you're having, what are you expecting? Do you want a hug now? Do you want someone just to listen? What is it that you need?
I just want somebody to listen
Mm,
and just a hug. That's all I really wanted or want.
okay.
So yeah. Were there any conversations that or moments we had to deepen our emotional intimacy?
Where are we at right now? I
Just
mean,
one.
yeah. Um, I'll never forget the first conversation that we ever had that I felt an emotional sense of intimacy with you.
Mm-hmm.
We were sitting on my stairs at my house, and it was late at night, and I think you had just walked me home. And that was
Mm-hmm.
the day we actually, introduced emotional intelligence and ran with
Yeah.
that. Which is crazy to see your growth talking about it now, by the way.
Thank
But
you.
um, what's the question? Sorry, I got sidetracked.
What were some conversations or moments we had to deepen the emotional intimacy?
Yeah, there's been a lot, from point A to point Z, but right now, I mean, look at us. We're sitting here after 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what, we made our first podcast like 6 months ago?
Summer.
Yeah,
Last
that
summer.
last year. That's a
Damn
whole
near.
year. So for it to be a year later and to be sitting down having similar conversations, um, down this journey,
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful. It is. And I think that this promotes connection itself. Like, I'm able
Mm-hmm.
to sit here and hear your perspective. You're able to hear mine. We can come to this mutual understanding, reflect on it and grow.
Right.
And then that's another beautiful thing too, is a year later we'll be able to come back, look at this podcast and be like,
Facts.
damn, look at the growth right there. Like,
Facts.
this is some stuff we were speaking on last year, and look, here we are today.
Mm-hmm.
So this alone, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's a moment that I had?
This is an interesting question for me.
Um, I feel like when we talk about our insecurities,
Mm,
for example, if I see you do something, this is going back to the triggers. If I see you do something like self care that I know I'm supposed to do,
mm,
a part of me is gonna be happy, but the other part of me is gonna be feeling some type of way,
mm,
just because I'm not doing that and I know I'm supposed to be doing that.
right.
So in me coming to you and you saying you feel the same way when I do certain stuff, it
Mm-hmm.
makes it feel better.
That
Like,
mutual
oh,
understanding,
yeah, that
yeah.
mutual understanding.
Yeah.
So that's one for sure.
I think that's where vulnerability comes in too, because I'm gonna put our business out there a little bit, cut it out if you don't want it. But we had a really hard time being vulnerable in our relationship when it came to insecurities,
Mm-hmm.
because we're both very strong-headed, we're
Yeah.
both leaders, so it can be hard to kind of be submissive in a relationship with one another and be like, okay, well, when you do this, or when you're out doing these kind of things, it makes me feel insecure in this way, and I know that this has to do with me, but I need your support in this. I need you to reassure me. I need, I have certain needs that I need you to help me with.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I feel like in the beginning of our relationship, there was a very negative stigma over insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because, in the beginning, everything's all butterflies and cupcakes, rainbows, everything, it's mysterious. You just met a new person. Then it's like later on down the relationship, you get to know the person, things kind of become less exciting for you. And that's when, you get to the nitty gritty, like, the spark starts to go
Yeah.
away. You have to find different ways to cultivate it. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you really do get down to the nitty gritty. And we weren't able to share our insecurities with one another. That was really hard for us because of the negative stigma. So once, we was like 8 months in and finally was able to sit down and have that conversation, like, these are my
Mm-hmm.
insecurities, and that's why when you do this, I'm triggered, and that's why you don't get the best response from me in those moments. That was beautiful, because
Mm-hmm.
now I know. Let there be a certain look on your face, and I know. I'll be like, okay, let me take a step back. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important to be open about your insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing about relationships too, especially romantic relationships. It's like I feel like you can't be in a romantic relationship without an insecurity coming out. Like it's always going to
Yeah.
happen. It's
Yeah.
always going to happen.
I think that's healthy too.
Yeah, it
Going
is.
back to what is a healthy relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it's those reflections of yourself.
Yeah.
So when you're with somebody and they push a button, it's like, whoa, I didn't even know I had that button.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that when you did that, it made me feel that way. Now I have to sit down and regulate that emotion, identify that emotion, like what's going on with me. That way I can come back with you and be like, okay, this is what happened. This is how we grow from it.
Right.
I think insecurities are really essential in a healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And triggers too.
Factual. How can we continue to have emotional intimacy and cultivate it?
I'll let you take that one first.
To have conversations like this, and I feel like we should start journaling,
Mm,
like
more
journaling
consistently.
prompts with trauma, inner child trauma, all that. I feel like that would be better too.
Hmm.
That would better it. Yeah.
I agree. I remember the first time you and I sat down and did a journal prompt. We were in this season in our relationship where things weren't as exciting as they once were before, and we were trying to cultivate that spark, that
Mhm.
connection that you're talking about, the emotional intimacy. And so we sat down and we did the prompt. I don't remember what it was, but by the end of the prompt, I was able to read your paper and you were able to read mine, and it was like kind of opening a door for us where it was like, whoa, like, okay, I kind of feel connected to you now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Then these are conversations that we have on a normal day.
Facts.
We don't have to be
Facts.
sitting in a room with a mic and headphone.
Oh
This is just
God.
us. This is how we operate together.
Mhm.
So continuing to, I think, you know what? Let me change my whole answer, because I think that the most important thing is scheduling the time, being intentional about it.
Mhm.
Because it's like, yeah, we can sit down and have conversations, but if it's not intentional to connect emotionally and to be intimate in that way, I don't think it's going to meet that need, to be honest.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, let's say college. Okay, college, you have to manage your time correctly, right? If
Right.
you want to go to the parties, you want to have all the fun, but you also want to be sure that you're an A B student, have all your assignments in and B to class, you have to manage your time very well. So when you're in a romantic relationship, you have your personal goals and all the things you want to do for yourself, but then the things you want to do with your partner, it's like you have to schedule that time and be intentional about it. So that's how
Mhm.
I feel we can continue to cultivate emotional intimacy.
For sure. For sure. For sure. How would you define intellectual intimacy and why is it important in a relationship?
You got it, baby.
Going back into intimacy is see into me. It's like you get to see the way I think. In the way I think, it's a little bit different.
Complex.
It's complex.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you can't get the way I think, you really won't understand, because that's like one of the things I like to do is think outside the box. I don't really think like a regular person. It's like my mind is somewhere else all the time,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about something. And it's like if you can't understand that, then it's like we don't even have nothing to
Yeah.
really. It's like I don't like talking about shallow things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't like talking hollow. I like to
Yeah.
go deep dive into certain topics and
Mm-hmm.
um, really open your mind. So if you aren't open minded into what I'm talking about, it's like we can't even be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's real important for me. It's like I can't be with somebody that can't think. I can't be with somebody that's stupid. I'm just saying. To be honest, my bad, but yeah.
Okay. You're gonna have to run the question back again.
What is intellectual intimacy and why is it important in a romantic relationship? And another thing is, it's like it has to be a two-sided relationship. It's like I can't always bring you knowledge. Like I want knowledge from you.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like if
I
I
know
can't
exactly
get
what you're saying.
that,
There's a
yeah.
saying, and it's like you never want to be the smartest man at the table,
Mhm.
because then you're only ever giving, you're never receiving.
Right.
Sit me at the table where I'm the dumbest at the table, so I can receive,
Right.
all the different types of knowledge. But yeah, I understand what you're saying with that two sided. Um, I see or not emotional. I see intellectual intimacy in our relationship in different areas. Um, just like you said, you are a critical thinker. You're a contemplator. You're somebody that dives deeper than the surface, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that about you because it opens my mind in ways that I didn't know I was capable.
Mm-hmm.
And trust and believe, I know I'm an educated woman. I hold that very proudly.
Right.
But there are certain things that I'm not able to see with the lens that God gave me.
Mm-hmm.
So God putting you in my life with the lens that you have and being able to look through your lens and be like, this is exactly how Dreamer would see this, but this is how I see it. Where's like a, mutual understanding between that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So one, the way that your mind works, that's, I think the way that both of our minds works and how they complement each other, that is emotional, or oh my goodness, intellectual intimacy on its own. Then the other thing is, I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You're an entrepreneur. So it's like, even before this podcast started just 30 minutes ago, we was listening to different ideas to make Growing in Love take off,
Mm-hmm.
That is intellectual intimacy for me. It's like, okay, it's also creative for me as well. What else? Reading together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When we do our Bible studies and stuff, and when we're able to sit down, I guess this kind of goes into spiritual intimacy too, but when we're able to sit down and kind of break down things together and be like, okay, well, this is what this means to me. What does it mean to you? Mm-hmm. Oh, I see why that meant that to you, based on how you grew up, all those things. So I think that's intellectual for me. Then just other little things too, like, let's say we want to learn financial freedom for the day. Okay, mm-hmm. What are a couple of things that are going to put us a couple baby steps ahead for that? Okay, let's sit down and learn about credit together. Okay, let's sit down and learn how to invest. Let's learn about stocks. Let's learn about all these different things to, I think that there's a lot of different areas in our life that intellectual intimacy comes in, whether it be financial, spiritually, emotionally, all of it. So I'll just leave that there.
For sure.
That's a really complex question because you got to break it all the way down.
In what ways do we challenge each other intellectually? How does this contribute to the growth as individuals in our relationship?
All right. So earlier when you said that you found a trigger within yourself, as far as I may be doing some kind of self-care that you should be doing for yourself, but you're not, and a part of you is happy for me, but then the other part of you is like, come on, Dreamer, get up. Okay. I think that that's how it can be with the intellectual intimacy, stimulating each other too. Because it's like, when I'm sitting down watching TV just aimlessly, screen time, doing my own thing, relaxation, whatever you want to call it,
right.
Getting trapped in the loop of TV, whatever it is.
Right.
I see you in the kitchen, you're sitting down, you're studying all the different types of credit and how you can start, this business based off this loan and all these things. And I'm sitting here watching Rick and Morty. And I'm looking at myself like, wow, this man is really in the kitchen. He got all this knowledge written down. He got like 10 pages worth of notes. And I'm sitting here watching Rick and Morty. That's conflicting for me. It's very conflicting because it's like, whoa, like, kind of like you said earlier, it taps into a little insecurity where it's like, whoa, I need to get on that level. So I think that can stimulate me in a positive way because, one, I'm growing from that insecurity. Right. It's like, I don't have to do as much as you to feel good about myself, I could be happy with what I'm doing day to day as long as I know that it's for me. 2, sometimes it's that gentle push that you was talking about. It may be a little bit competitive, but in the most loving way, it's that little push. It's like, okay, if I see him out here doing this, that, and the third, let me get on his level so I can be equipped to support him. And so I also have something going for me as well, because ever since the beginning of our relationship, something that I've always stood very firm in is being within your own identity. You have to be with yourself before you can be with anybody else. Yeah. Then the other thing too is when you're in a romantic relationship, of course you're going to adapt certain characteristics from your partner, but it's like, once you have your identity and you're grounded in who you are, if that person leaves tomorrow, it's not like the world is ending, you don't know what's going to happen. It's like, I'm in my own identity, I'll be okay. So that's a whole other topic, but
for me, in what ways do we challenge each other intellectually? I would say with our beliefs in spirituality, because it's like we have 2 different beliefs. It's like it kind of intertwines, but it's still different. So it's like me hearing your point of view, I get to understand it more, and you hearing my point of view, we get to understand before. So I wouldn't really say it's never a challenge for me,
Mm,
because it's like I'm gaining another person's insight
right.
and perspective, which is never really a challenge, because it's like, okay, now I get to learn more about their what they see or what they hear from what they get,
Mhm.
and I get to understand the subject we're talking about even more from somebody else's perspective,
Mhm.
and how it contributes. Dang, what did he say? He said, you can't see a different angle if you don't move somewhere else.
Mm.
So it's like I can't see another person's perspective if I don't actually look into their perspective. And
Mhm.
it's like always good to have multiple perspectives to look at to see the bigger picture of
Right.
things.
Mhm.
So that'll be a contribution of it for sure.
Okay. That was a beautiful message, but I kind of disagree with you a little bit.
How?
And I'll tell you why. Because, okay, if we take it back to spiritual a little bit, that is one area where we agree to disagree with certain, details or characteristics or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I think it can be a challenge for us because I think there are two sides to it. I think that there's pros and cons. You
Mm.
just put the pros out there, being able to gain that insight, that other perspective, and also understand where you're coming from and why you see things the way that you do.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other part of it too is because we disagree, I feel like there's certain points in time where we're not able to connect or have that, not the intimacy, but the connection part of it. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's like I can see into you, you can see into me. But as far as the connection part of it, I think that may affect that sometimes. Yeah.
How?
How? I think that it affects the connection because we're not standing in the same place looking at the same view.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's exactly why, because we have different angles of the same view.
Right.
And so it's hard to be like, it's hard to connect when you're across the room. That's
Mm-hmm.
the best way I could put it. If you all the way over here looking at the pain, I'm all the way over here, it's hard to connect when.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I will see that.
Although there is something very beautiful about being able to agree to disagree. Because it's like with me, we don't really argue. It's really hard
Yeah.
to have conflict. It's really difficult to have conflict in our relationship,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come very often. So I'm going to just leave it there. Go
For sure.
ahead. That's a whole nother episode.
um, do I ever encourage your curiosity or learning within our relationship, and how is long life learning healthy for our relationship?
Yes, all the time. All the time. Like I said earlier, I will walk out into public with my dreamer lens on. Like, just be looking at everything from your perspective. Or if I'm looking at certain pieces of history or certain things that I know that you're interested in and I know you have background on or all those kinds of things, I'll put my dreamer lens on so fast and
Mm-hmm.
be like, what would he see in this? Kind of read between the lines, but then also have my own perspective as well.
Right.
So, yes, you definitely do. Why is it important? I like what you said earlier, having different perspectives to see the bigger picture, having those
Mm.
different insights, those different angles. So I think that's why it's important. Then the other reason too is because it helps me to know you better. Yeah, it helps me to
Mm.
know you better so that when we are in moments, I'm able to support you, vice
Right.
versa.
Um, I would say you spark my curiosity with um, I would say with a plant-based diet, because I really didn't really look into it like that, but I see myself looking into it more since I'm with you, and it's like
Mm,
I see you on it and going into herbs and all that. So I'll
that's
be like, that's
interesting.
one for sure.
Do
And
you mean holistic health?
yeah, holistic health,
Okay.
holistic health,
Yeah.
holistic plant based.
Oh, it's
uh,
beautiful.
and how it helps the relationship. Um, yeah, you could see into the. I keep saying you can see into the other person's views. Like you get to understand them even more, seeing into them. It's like you get to see different parts of them. You get to see what they're curious about, see what they're interested in, see what their passions are, what
Hmm.
their love is for. So, yeah. In what ways do intellectual conversations with us stimulate you?
Like I said before, I feel as though it gives me that push to level up.
Mm.
It's like, okay, let me dig deeper. Let me think about this critically for a moment. You know, um, they stimulate me. Then the other thing too is you and I being intertwined. When I see that you're excited about something you're passionate about, I'm excited for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that also has to do with intellectual intimacy, because when we're sitting in the library and you find a book that is talking about all these different things and you're super excited about it, you're breaking it down to me, it's like one, that's stimulating my curiosity, within what you're excited about. Then two, I'm excited that you're excited. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn with you. Like, why does this make you excited? Why are you so passionate about it? That kind of thing. So, because you're
Mm-hmm.
passionate about a lot of stuff and you get excited about all of them. So,
Yeah. How does it stimulate me?
what was the first part of the question?
In what ways do intellectual conversations stimulate you? That
Mm.
was all. Um, I ain't gonna lie. Any deep conversation for me can be stimulating because I
Mm-hmm.
just love deep conversations. It's like I could literally talk about it for like a whole day, and
Yeah.
I could still talk about it. And it's like every time we keep talking about it, and I get those goosebumps,
Mm-hmm.
and like my mind sparks up. It gives
Mm-hmm.
me more energy, and like after a conversation like that, I will feel energized. I'll
Mm-hmm.
feel so energized. It's like you woke my mind up to start thinking about stuff, and it's like my body could be tired, but my mind is up, so I can't
Yeah.
even go to sleep till it's like wore out. So it stimulates me like that. Then with you, we can just talk about stuff, and it I feel like every time I have those conversations that stimulates me, it opens my mind up to something different every time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just opens it up to a new perspective, or I could put something together, or it just opens me up every time. So
Mm.
any conversation will be stimulating to me, and just learning new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to say it's learning new stuff for me too.
Hmm.
That's where I'm most stimulated when it comes to having those kinds of conversations, is when we're learning new things that are going to help us. But it's usually when it's something that's like something that we can apply to ourselves or our relationship. That's when I'm most
Hmm.
stimulated. I'm like, okay, let me know all about this. I want to know from begin to end. So
Hmm.
it's really learning new stuff for me, because that also goes into
Hmm.
adventurous intimacy for me, and I'm an adventurous
Yeah.
person. So, hmm
Um, in the future, how do you envision continuing to cultivate and deepen intellectual intimacy within our relationship?
that was probably the easiest question of them all. Be intentional about it.
Mm.
Schedule me on the books for a podcast. Let's sit down and talk about things. Let's go have a business meeting and talk about things. The best thing I can say is be intentional about it.
Mm.
Yeah.
For me, what I have to say, um, just learning more every day.
Mm.
Just learning more stuff. That's with history, finances, spiritually, something within ourselves. Just learn something every day
Mm.
and bring it to the table.
Right.
And you could bring something to the table to teach me. We
Mm-hmm.
just teach each other. Um, Another thing is traveling, cause I want to go see. It's in plain sight, but I have to have the plain sight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to travel for sure and
Mm.
go into different cultures and all that. But that's a whole
Mhm.
different conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put that in like
Yeah.
expand minds. uh,
Okay, the last one is 3 things we.
appreciate about one another.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm. I'll go first then. I was trying to think like, is there anything else I want to recap about those questions? I feel
Mm,
like it went by so
it
fast.
did for real.
Yeah. 3 things that I appreciate about you. One, you're very patient.
Mm,
I appreciate how patient you can be because I'm a person with a lot of energy. And so if you're having a bad day, I'm having a great day, and I come to you with a lot of energy, you are very patient. I
mm,
appreciate that. Um, you're so understanding and so thoughtful.
mm,
Like, I can come to you with the worst news, and you're gonna contemplate on it. You're gonna sit down. You're gonna take it in. You're gonna understand it. You're gonna break it down piece by piece. You're gonna come back to me and be like, you know what? I understand why you did what you did, or I understand why you were thinking this way, or those kinds of things. I really appreciate that. You
mm,
taking the time to understand where I come from, and then come back to the table and be like, all right, let's talk about it.
mm,
And 3, I appreciate having a business partner in my partner
mm,
because that's something I'm so passionate about. Whether it be mentoring kids, whether it be throwing some kind of event, whether it be, aromatherapy, all kinds of stuff.
mm,
So the fact that I'm able to come to you and have all these ideas, and it's like, one, I know for sure you're going to support me, and 2, I know you're going to lend a helping hand if I need it. I appreciate that more than anything because
mm.
it's like, not only are you helping me grow within myself, but then it's like the legacy that I want to leave behind as well. You're
Right,
helping me build that empire. So I appreciate having a business partner in my partner.
for
I'll tell you
sure.
that.
For me, I appreciate your creative side. Because when we
Mm,
first started talking, you said you don't really have a creative side.
yeah.
But we was talking about the Growing in Love shirts that
Beautiful
night.
miss.
Yeah, beautiful
Cut that out.
mess.
They can't know that part.
Yeah. But you had ideas and it's like it was creative and it's like I
mm,
could actually see your creative mind. It's like you didn't
mm,
think you really had a creative side, but you do.
mm.
And I appreciate it.
Oh.
Another one is I appreciate when you do stuff that brings light to my shadow so I can
Mm,
be aware of it
mm,
and I can be aware of the triggers and feelings it gets me cuz it gives me a space to heal whatever it is or fix what I'm feeling.
mm,
So I appreciate that. Another thing is you just being you. It's like it's the only like this the reason why I'm with you is because you're you.
mm.
And yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you too.
Thank you. And that is the end of the second episode. So we will see y'all
We did it.
whenever.